Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's launch of the National Sikh Police Association. My name is Sangat Chima. I am an officer of the West Midlands Police. I was only given 10 minutes. Harvey said you've got 10 minutes to speak. For those of you that do know me, 10 minutes is a big expectation because I do like to talk. Also, I was told, Gaffer, that it was going to be good for my development. I'm sure that's a phrase that we've all heard before. Ron Geddes, part of the what's it called? I shouldn't say 10 little things that we've been asked to do. Gaffer, the 10 little things. I think I can equate for at least 3/4 of my 10 little things
You've
today.
You've got 90 because it was 100 actually.
Yes. Well, 10. Knock off the 1. Okay, close. Anyway, I'm bad with that anyway. So sorry if I do go on, but. When you're proud of an event, you do tend to go on, and it is important for us to recognise that a lot of hard work has gone into organising this event. Some fantastic people in this room, obviously some that can't be here today, but we do thank you for all of the support that you have been giving us, and no doubt you will continue to give. Right, if I can draw your attention to the postcards on your tables. So, as someone that is new to Twitter, and when I say new, I literally mean in the last week, I've been following some key people, and I must say that we have some key Twitter champions in this room. Mr. Thompson. So, ladies and gentlemen, today there's no competition as to how many tweets, Instagram posts, or social media activity that you do share with the outside world. But what I would ask you to do is please help us share this launch. And obviously it will help us in the future as well. So we want to get out on all platforms today. And we're nearly at the end. Also on your tables, if you haven't already tucked into the sweets, they are Indian sweets. Today's event has been kindly sponsored and supported by Mr. Jazz Gill from Barthia, Birmingham, on Soho Road in Handsworth. In true traditional Indian style, he's generously provided these to help us celebrate this unique occasion. They are unique flavours. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I please warmly welcome and hand over to Mr. Dave Thompson, Chief Constable of West Midlands Police, and undoubtedly the Forces Twitter champion. Thank you.
Right, morning everybody. It's fantastic to see you all here as we launch the National Sikh Police Association. Of course, from a West Midlands police perspective, I'm particularly delighted about that, and I'll talk a little bit more about our own Sikh Police Association in a moment. But as you will know, I think the West Midlands is absolutely the heart of the Sikh community in the United Kingdom and probably in Europe. We have the biggest Sikh community here, and it is such an important, vibrant part, I think, of the business community, political life, business, military, and absolutely policing here in the West Midlands as well. And so I think it's a really fitting place to be here as a region. The second reason why is of course our own Sikh Police Association. So in 2013, relatively recently, our Sikh Police Association was formed here by staff within the West Midlands. And I'll say now, staff networks are very important to us in West Midlands. We can't possibly do our job effectively, given the super diverse region we police, without actually our very diverse staff influencing how our organisation works. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. But I am so pleased to see the role that staff here have played in helping set up the National Association. I thank Harvey Ray and his whole committee, not just for the work they've done the Sikh Police Association for us, but the contribution to today's event. It's not all been hard work, though, in my involvement with the Sikh Police Association. I was particularly pleased to see you walk through, because 2 years ago I enjoyed particularly the charity bike ride that we did with the Sikh community for the Sikh helpline. I think it sticks in my memory not as a gruelling test of cycling endurance, more a test of my ability to eat at the rate that we had to as we went from Gurdwara to Gurdwara, and particularly I think there's probably more training you need to do. More Street of Birmingham is not that steep, but I did feel like Chris Froome destroying the peloton as I crawled up it myself as everybody else got off their bikes. But it was a great event, and it just shows also, I think, the contribution that the Sikh community make here to the life in Birmingham. And we've talked particularly already about Langer Aid, but the outreach to the homeless communities in Birmingham, the support that the helpline does to other communities, not just the Sikh community. You know, our Sikh community is hugely outward facing and a key part of contribution, and I think something to bear in mind as we talk about what Sikh policing can do. I always think when I have contact with many of the faiths in the West Midlands, well, all of the faiths, how similar the values are of our faith communities with policing. And it's no less true in terms of Sikh communities. And actually, Sikh communities have a huge history of service for the public. It was particularly, I think, impressive this year in Sandal that we saw at the centenary of the end of the First World War, the unveiling of the contribution of what were at the time imperial forces, but particularly that statue is of a Sikh soldier and the contribution that was made there. And the same thing's been there in policing as well. It's no secret to us all that a face that stands out on the National Roll of Honour is PC Kerbal Kaur Sandhu of the Metropolitan Police, whose own desire to serve at that time as a female officer and a female Sikh officer cost her her life in her devotion to serve her communities, I think is particularly impressive. So we don't come here today to celebrate something new. Actually, we're marking out, I think, territory as the great contribution that Sikhs have made in public service and in policing. I think the last thing I'd say before what I'd hope for today is one of the things that I think also that has happened, and in fact, we have discussed it with a number of colleagues here today, that one of the things that has happened, I think, over the last few years in West Midlands Police also, because of the contribution of our staff associations, is a greater confidence around the public display of faith. And what I mean by that is, I think we see it now with Muslim communities, we're seeing it with Sikh communities in the force, that too often people have felt they've had to suppress their religious identity to conform with policing. And it is a choice that people would make how they choose to visibly display their faith. But I am delighted, as we've chatted today, the comfort and individuals who have felt that actually this is an organisation now where they don't have to hide the fact that they're a Sikh, and it is something they are proud and able to publicly display. And I think we're seeing that across many faiths here in the West Midlands, and certainly something for those of you across the country who go back to policing to reflect whether actually all faiths feel that way in your own organisation. So, what are we hoping for today? So, there are a number of things I think that are really important about staff networks. Of course, the first thing that we often think about is the advocacy that they can provide for staff within their own organisations. We are still a long way off being the diverse service that reflects the community in the West Midlands, and policing is a long way to go. This week, the Home Affairs Select Committee has been reviewing the progress since the Macpherson inquiry in policing, and the progress has not been anywhere fast enough, and we recognise that. We're still a long way off being universally fair to the people in our own organisation, and if we don't achieve that, how can we possibly be fair to all the communities that we serve? And so that constant role that staff networks have got of reminding, of challenging what might be dominant thinking in organisations, and making sure actually we are truly an inclusive culture, I think is hugely important for the networks. The second issue is, and I think that's been very powerful with our own Sikh Police Association, the connection to communities. Staff networks are an absolute operational asset for policing. It is no secret in the West Midlands we have had some recent tensions with the Sikh community over some operations we carried out in relation to Indian extremism. That is tough and it is testing. It requires us to demonstrate our legitimacy for what we do. It also requires us to break down misunderstandings and barriers around why things may have taken place. And it's been very clear that our association has been on the front line of that conversation and the challenges that's brought with it. But actually, I wonder quite how we would have navigated or would navigate these challenges if we didn't have those associations. So this is a very, very operational role that we require our staff networks for. The third area I think that is particularly important is around the whole area of confidence and enabling the public to see our institution as one that is accessible to them. People often say when we talk about diversity in policing that if you phone 999 you don't care who turns up. Well, that's absolutely true. But if you look at an institution day in, day out and it doesn't reflect the people you serve, it doesn't reflect the communities. If you can't see some of you in it, your trust is going to be lower. And so it is particularly important associations play an important part of encouraging people to recognise that not just being a police officer, working for us in our transformation, our technology, all those areas, that this is an organisation where we want the most talented, the most capable, and actually the fact that your religion and belief should be no barrier to that, I think, is hugely important. The final two tips I give are this. I think for those of us who are here as senior leaders, chief officers, it's always worth remembering that we have a duty around our own qualities issues to promote a diverse organisation, to create fairness. Just because you've got an active staff association, it doesn't mean you've outsourced that problem. And on many occasions, I know we've learnt very hard in our staff networks to be the visible face, and actually we've had to catch up, I think, on occasions. So if today emboldens your staff, makes staff want to play a more active part, it's a contribution, but the duty to deliver those things is on the police force or the organisation, not the network. And similarly to those staff who are emboldened by today and want to play a more active part, the huge advantage of a national institution probably doesn't come for organisations like the Met or West Midlands, where we've got a critical mass of people and we've got an ability to bring colleagues together. But actually many forces will have one or two Sikh staff where actually a national organisation can draw into that strength that does exist in places like the West Midlands here. And so it's really important we recognise that. But actually it's important you don't overstretch yourselves in terms of the contribution you make. Just as I've said to senior leaders, many of the obligations you're fighting for are the duty of the organisation, not just of staff networks. So, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, as I've said. Thank you so much for those of you who travelled around the country and giving up your time. This is a big moment in policing. It is very significant, I think, for the community. And I hope today enables us to pick up even more momentum from the work that's been done over the last few years. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. So the next speaker I'm going to introduce, so I would like to welcome on stage one of two female inspirational ladies that we do have, Preet Kaur Gill. Preet Kaur Gill is a British Labour and cooperative politician serving as a Member of Parliament for the Edgbaston area, and she has been since 2017. Preet has made history by winning the Labour seat for Edgbaston, and she is the first female Sikh Asian MP. Preet is also the chair of the all-party parliamentary groups on mentoring the British Sikhs. So not only is she paving the way of the future in politics for youngsters, but also she's involved in many initiatives locally and nationally and leading by example. So we humbly thank you. Please continue.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It's really a privilege to be here today to celebrate the official launch of the National Sikh Police Association in the United Kingdom. I really want to thank West Midlands Chief Constable Dave Thompson for his support, and Harvey Rai and Cam Samra and the West Midlands Police Sikh Association for really leading on this initiative. It's a pleasure to see such a range of talented people from a variety of organisations. I've seen police officers, staff, unions, charities and community representatives. Sharing best practice as well as simple information about the Sikh faith across the police force is vital to not only tackle misunderstandings and misinformation as early as possible, but also to address black spots in the way the police currently interact with the Sikh community. Why is it, for example, that hate crime is underreported in the Sikh community? The National Sikh Police Association can act as a group to collate and advise in areas such as this on a national level. The West Midlands Police Sikh Association has already led on Gurdwaras becoming third-party reporting centres. But there is so much more for us to do. But more than that, the association can provide and present an inclusive agenda, something which other public sector bodies and organisations can learn from and ask questions about as they go forward. And in my role as chair of the all-party parliamentary group for Sikhs, I've been working on developing a code of practice for the 5 Gars and the Star. And this is based on guidance first produced by the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, and the Secretary of State for the Home Office is currently writing a forward to this. This code of practice and the educational work you will be able to do as part of the association is not only sorely needed by the Sikh community, but will also serve to help employers, service providers, government departments and public bodies with advice and guidance to feel confident that they understand the needs of the Sikh community. As many of you will have seen, before Christmas, the All-Party Parliamentary Group for British Sikhs campaigned for a government amendment to the Offences Weapons Bill to reflect the importance of not criminalising the Sikh community for the sale or possession of large gurbans. The omission of this in the original wording was an oversight, but one which would have placed far too much emphasis on police officer discretion. And thanks to the cross-party group, as well as the receptiveness of the Home Secretary Sajid Javid and the Home Office Minister Victoria Atkins, we were able to reach an agreement on wording, and the government now has Gurban incorporated in the explanatory notes, and we've amended religious ceremonies to reflect religious reasons. In Parliament in April, we will be launching Sikh Awareness Month, and this will be a great opportunity to work with the National Sikh Police Association and the wider community. So I hope you will all use the All-Party Parliamentary Group as a resource and a place to direct and distribute information and materials, and I look forward to working with you all and supporting the association from Parliament as it develops a strong working relationship between the police service and the Sikh community. Thank you. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
I now would like to welcome Gurdar Singh, who will deliver input on Sikh ethos and policing values. It is important to recognise that Gurdar Singh was the first Sikh in the UK to be appointed as a chaplain. He is a distinguished Sikh chaplain within the NHS and the mental health services. Gurdar is heavily involved in promoting faith awareness and interfaith dialogue between communities over many years, and also sits on several advisory boards. Gurdar, all right? Please join.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Distinguished guests, officers, members of the Sikh community and friends, I'm delighted to be here today at the launch of the National Sikh Police Association. This marks another step towards strengthening the long-standing relationship between the Sikh community and the police service. An opportunity to work closer in partnership to ensure that our police service is responsive to the needs of the communities it serves. That it recruits from those very communities and builds stronger relationships of trust. But also I look at this as an opportunity for the police service to show its support and encouragement to Sikh officers, letting them know that they are recognised and valued for the gifts and qualities that they bring to the police force and the role that they play. And I was delighted to hear that sense of organisational drive behind recognising Sikhs as Sikhs and not hiding away your qualities, but bringing your whole self to your work and your role. Indeed, I believe that we can be viewed as natural partners in that we have many shared values, attitudes and responsibilities. Values of service, of honesty and justice, attitudes of courtesy, integrity and perseverance. As is customary within Sikh tradition, we begin with an ardas or supplication. It is a moment of pause to acknowledge the divinity that exists both within us and permeates all existence. A connectedness to this oneness, Vaheguru. I will recite the Mool Mantra, which is the opening stanza of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, and I invite you all to have a moment of quiet reflection on the values that Gurbani teaches us, and those of you from the Sikh faith, please do join in. Ik Onkar Satnam Karta Purkh Nirpau Nirvair Akal Mourat Ajuni Sahibam Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Happy Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach Ik Onkar Satnam Karta Purkh Nirpau Nirvair Akal Mourat Ajuni Sahibam Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Happy Sach नानक होसी भी सच, एक ओंकार सतनाम करता पुरख निरभौ निर्वैर, अकाल मूरत अजूनी सैभं, गुर प्रसाद जप, आद सच जुगाद सच, है भी सच, नानक होसी भी सच। वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरू जी। This year marks the 550th Gurpurab, birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. This is a momentous year for us all. Guru Nanak Dev Ji, whose divine revelation is at the heart of Sikhi. Let me begin by painting a picture for you. Imagine a world where there is little hope. Life is greatly burdened by the inequity of law. Laws that enshrine discrimination, segregation, laws that treat you according to your status in society, your wealth, your gender, and your religion. Imagine then that those in positions of power and authority are influenced by self-interest, promoting nepotism, religious and class discrimination, and having the power to commit abuse and tyranny without any means of redress. Imagine a society in the grips of poverty, where there is large inequality, where you have little prospect of improving your life. Imagine a time of conflict, where invading forces come, massacre, loot and rape, and destroy as they please. It was in this darkness that Satguru Nanak Dev Ji emerged as a ray of light to dispel the darkness and despair that had afflicted society, to bring hope and liberation, transformation to all. And this is the very same light that the Khalsa ethics, that the Khalsa seeks to shine for all humanity. When we reflect on this vision, we realize that Guru Nanak Dev Ji's message is just as relevant today as it was 549 years ago. If not more so, as we see a growing division and hatred within our society, Guru Nanak Dev Ji's message, those values of the Sikh faith, are just as important. The foundations of Sikh teaching begin with Ik Oankar. In the opening of the Mool Mantra that I recited, it recognizes that there is oneness in all existence, oneness that connects us all, that brings us together, and ultimately through this oneness, we are all united. Recognize the divinity within yourself, was what Guruji taught, and realize that divinity also exists in every other person around you. And this formed the foundation of inalienable universal human rights, that every person is born with rights. You don't have to earn these rights. They're not contingent on your citizenship or acceptance of authority. These are inalienable. These ideals were well ahead of their time. To put into context, Guru Nanak Dev Ji was at around about the time of the War of the Roses, as Britain was battling the intrigue of the politics of that day. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was spreading this message of a new way of living and of a new way of thinking. Guruji's message was not just limited to the spiritual, but went wholeheartedly into the political, social, and economic liberation of society. He said it's not just enough to contemplate the truth as an abstract theory. We must apply it into our lives. We must be transformed by the truth, and consequently transform society by living truth. We can talk about the challenges that face our society today, whether it is the crisis within NHS, growing inequality, poverty, greater division, greater hostility, the emboldening of extremists. But until we take personal responsibility to engage in the social and political realities of our time and organize ourselves to enact change, these issues will continue. The Khalsa, Sikh values and Sikh ethos is rooted in practical application, the transformation of life, and the uplifting of the downtrodden and inspiring the oppressed. Guruji empowered every person to realize their potential to act and live righteously, to help the needy, to make the world a better place. Even those who were considered irredeemable by society were transformed by Guru Nanak Dev Ji's message. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was revolutionary in their approach. They challenged the structures of power and offered a radical solution. This is the concept of truth is high, and higher still is truthful living. Satche ur sabko, upar sach ajar. It is the difference between the full and active participation in life and a passive one. It is a fundamental shift in thought. And we would all agree that speaking truth and being kind and honest is all things that we would stand for and live out. But what happens when truth and speaking truth may cost you your popularity, may cost you your job, your income, or even your life? Are you willing to speak it? This is at the heart of the Khalsa mindset, the Sikh ethos. Guruji from Guru Nanak Dev Ji taught us very clearly, speak truth to power, without fear or favour. Guru Nanak Dev Ji himself was imprisoned by the first Mughal Emperor Babur. And to give you a brief introduction to Babur as a historical figure, he was the first invading army of the Mughal dynasty, and he wreaked havoc on society, massacring and looting and subjugating the population with such strength that people were disheartened by the terror that was rained upon them. And it was this same emperor that Guru Nanak Dev Ji called a tyrant to his face and admonished him for his cruelty and challenged him to live his life in a more righteous and honest way. Guru Nanak Dev Ji travelled extensively to the religious and intellectual centres of the time, from Tibet and Sri Lanka to Saudi Arabia, and even, it is said, to the Vatican, where Guru Nanak Dev Ji shared this divine message, the core values that are still held by Sikhs today. Returning, he established a city dedicated to the divine, to this message, Kartarpur. And this was built on the core principles that every Sikh will know. Kirat karo, naam japo, and vanshako. Kirat karo. Work hard and honestly. Whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're dedicating yourself, whatever your role or responsibility in life is, take personal responsibility to try your best, to live it honestly, to give your 110%, whether you are working in the NHS, as I do, or in the police service, or in some charitable cause. Give 110% in whatever you do. Live and participate in life actively. Naam japo, meditate. Reflect on the divinity within yourself and reflect on your engagement of the divinity without. This was about seeing the world as part of one global family, not being discriminatory towards people of different backgrounds or different class or different identities. And Naam Japo Waheguru, Vanshako, share what you have, whether it's time, skills, opportunities, organisation, whatever you can give to transform the world around you. Give it selflessly and observe the transformation that takes place within yourself. Again, many of the Sikh officers that I've spoken to speak of these values of Vanshako, sharing the service that you have, sharing the knowledge that you have. And these form the bedrock of the Khalsa ethos. They transcend boundaries of religion, culture, age, gender, and time. If we think about these values today, I don't think anyone here would disagree with those qualities to applying those philosophies in their lives. Another core theme within the Sikh ethos is Sarbat Da Pala. Everyday Sikhs around the world, in our ardas, our supplicatory prayer, we will say, Nanak Naam Chardi Kala Tere Pane Sarbat Da Pala. Guru Nanak Dev Ji reflects that through Naam, connecting with the divine, comes well-being, happiness, and a positive spirit. And with your blessings, Waheguru, may everyone in the world prosper and be at peace. So Sikhs, in their core, speak for world and humanity. They speak for the benefit of everyone, and not just our community. And at the heart of this is a compassion for all people, for all plants and animals. The Khalsa holds welfare of all as important as the welfare of itself, and takes personal responsibility again to ensure the rights and well-beings of all others are protected. And this links to the idea of seva. And I noticed my brothers and sisters from Langar Seva are here, and I think the fantastic work that's being done by the Sikh community is exemplary of that ingrained and rooted desire to serve all humanity. And this is something that we as a community are very proud of. I come from Leicester, and a study was done some years ago, and it looked at all the communities and their contributions towards society. And it's always a proud thing to say that the Sikhs punched well above their weight per capita in how much they gave to society. And I think those values are, again, something we find within the police service. The Gurus were very much about walking the walk, and another monumentous aspect of the Sikh ethos was founded by Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, the ninth Guru. It's unparalleled in the history of world faiths for the leader of a major world tradition to give their life for the liberty and freedom of another community. But this was precisely what Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji did. He stood up to the tyranny of Aurangzeb, the tyranny of the emperor of that time, and spoke for universal freedoms, the freedom to practice religion, just as officers who are in the West Midlands Police, East Midlands Police, and police services across the board want to retain their sense of identity and their religious practice and freedom, as with every other faith tradition. Having that sense of freedom, being able to do that, was something that the Gurus championed themselves. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji declared, when he created the Khalsa nation, that the nation of the Khalsa would uproot tyranny and injustice. The Khalsa was born in Baisakhi of 1699. Sikhs were given a clear uniform, an identity, a code of conduct, and a mission. And actually, if we look at the values that we see in our society today, the values that the police force stand for, there is such connectivity between these two. I'm going to reflect on what is known as the Sikh national anthem. It's a beautiful and powerful shabd. And it emphasizes that desire. And I love the fact that in the National Sikh Police Association logo, you've actually taken a portion of this shabd. Shubh karmante kabhu na duro. May I never refrain from doing good and righteous deeds. And I think that speaks very much to the values by which Sikhs stand for. I know my sister Preet is standing here, and she is working very hard to challenge the injustices that are felt by our community and the issues that are being raised. There are so many people here who work dedicatedly from the Sikh community and beyond to enforce that sense of value, that sense of justice and righteousness. And this is at the heart again of Sikh values and at the centre of Sikh living. Now, I took this next slide from actually the decision-making model for policing, and I reflected on... Has it not been playing the whole way through? Crikey. When technology fails. Anyway, so the police decision-making conduct puts its code of conduct at the centre of all things that we do. At every point in life, at every point of being a police officer, your code of ethics fits in with everything that you do. For Sikhs, the Guru is at the centre of all things. So for us, our values are taken from the Guru and the Gurmat, the Guru's teachings. And for a Sikh, those values are imbued in all aspects of our life. And for a police officer, it is the code of conduct. And so when we're talking about the Sikh ethos and police values, I thought it would be helpful to reflect upon some of the code of conduct and values by which the police service operates. And actually, reading through them, I was surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised, to be honest. They're very much values that I share and believe in. And I'm going to share some of them with you and reflect on this yourself. These are things that every Sikh will feel very at home living. I will be honest and act with integrity at all times, and will not compromise or abuse my position. Acting with a sense of integrity at the heart of everything you do are the values and ethics of how you live and operate. I will act with self-control and tolerance, treating members of the public and colleagues with respect and courtesy. One of the great hot topics of today, of this time now, is the Gurban issue. And if we see the Gurban as an offensive weapon, as a knife, then we will seek to criminalise it. But that truly doesn't understand what a Gurban symbolises. A Sikh carries a Gurban with that sense of respect, self-control and tolerance. That this Gurban is there to protect the lives of the innocent and the oppressed. It is to stand up for the rights of those who are in need. It is not there to cause tyranny. And this is something, again, that Sikhs feel very strongly for. Because to understand us, you have to understand the values of our God, of our identity, what the star and our turban means to us. But again, it's a value that both the police service and Sikh community share. Acting with self-control and tolerance, treating members of the public and colleagues with respect and courtesy. And that's one thing I always think to myself, actually. Respect and courtesy is the bedrock of a respectful and cohesive society. I will use my powers and authority lawfully and proportionately, and will respect the rights of all individuals. Going back to the Mool Mantra, we recognise the divinity within ourselves and we recognise the divinity in all others. This is the bedrock of that philosophy. I will act with fairness and impartiality. I will not discriminate unlawfully or unfairly. I will behave in a manner, whether on duty or off, which does not bring discredit onto the police service or undermine public confidence in policing. One of the things as a Amritdhari Sikh, I am conscious I have an identity. If I behave in a way that would bring disrespect to my faith and my Guru, it is something that I'm reminded that I have a code of conduct and ethic by which I live, and I'm identifiable and so held accountable and responsible for my actions, just as every police officer seeks to make sure that they respect the uniform that they wear. I will report, challenge or take action against the conduct of colleagues which has fallen below the standards of professional behaviour, and that sense of self-reflection, of working together with your colleagues to maintain a standard. And I think that sense of Khalsa community is again something that we share. We have so much in common. Police have a duty to act when they see something illegal. Sikhs have a duty to act when we see an injustice. Sikhs have a uniform and so does the police service. Sikhs are held accountable to their Guru. Police officers are accountable to the structures of command. The police are bound to enforce the law, but the Sikhs are bound to challenge injustice, even if it's injustice enshrined in law. A police officer has a duty to uphold the law and standards of conduct at all times, and the duty of the Khalsa is to live up to the Khalsa ethics at all times. And these, if we look at those parallels, there is such similarity, that sense of duty, that sense of responsibility, having a sense of uniform and identity. Now, looking forward, I hope that this will be a chance for the Sikh community and the police service to build a stronger relationship. I think it's really important, especially now, for the Sikh community to have confidence in the police force, so that we can feel empowered to work together, to build trust as a cornerstone of this relationship, ensure that there are clear channels of communication, but also a clear sense of accountability. We should encourage recruitment from the Sikh community. And why the diverse communities? Because the police service should look like the communities it serves. Every community should look to the forces and see that they too do belong. It's been a great source of pride to see so many dedicated and successful police officers serving around the country faithfully and tirelessly to ensure that every day we can sleep sound at home, knowing that there is a police service out there to protect our needs, to support us in the worst circumstances. And this is something I hope that continues to grow. Sikhs have served in police forces around the world and have been known to carry out their duties diligently and with dedication. I would really like to see from this day an establishment of Sikh presence at the highest levels of policing. With all professions and fields, it would be a wonderful thing to see Sikh officers serving in the highest positions of authority, serving as role models to the community, to aspiring Sikh police officers, that there is no glass ceiling for you. And through hard work and dedication, you can achieve whatever you set your mind to. And that for me is a vision and challenge to the police. And I hope this is something that the police service will take on enthusiastically, to invest in the future leaders tomorrow, to invest in the talent, to create opportunity, to recognise that each community has a gift to give and nourishing that community. Developing greater understanding. I view the relationship with the Sikh community and the police as that of critical friends, in that we have seen that we have many shared values at the heart of all we stand for. But only through investing in this relationship can we be further empowered to have many more fruitful conversations. And lastly, let today be a marker to build a better future together. May we look at this day and see the leaps and bounds of progress that we have made together. And I give my commendation to the staff, the Sikh officers, the police associations, and all those volunteers and CRDAs who have given tirelessly to make this vision a reality. May Waheguru keep you in Jagdi Kala. May you continue to work tirelessly and serve selflessly in all that you do. And I wish you all the best, and I look forward to working on and seeing this relationship develop. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa.
Thank you, good Garthin. The next speaker I invite to the floor is Cam Samra. Cam is also part of the West Midlands Police Sikh Association, one of the significant parties involved with West Midlands Sikh Police Association and the National Sikh Police Association.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ The Khalsa, Saint Soldiers, the Army of the Pure, as created by the 10th Master, belongs to Vaheguru, and the victory is always Vaheguru's. And that's the Sikh's greeting, which is quite important for a Sikh, because it's very humbling. Because when a Sikh does something, we don't say that I've done this. So this setup here isn't as a result of me as an individual or our team doing it, it's with the grace of the Almighty. And with that greeting, it always reminds us to stay humble. So it's more than greeting. Okay. So as the Vice Chair of the West Midlands Police Sikh Association and also a key member of the national setup, I'd like to thank you all for taking your time out, your precious time to be here at the launch of the national body. So what does that mean? So setting up of a national association, how is the community going to benefit and how is the police going to benefit? In order to demonstrate that, what I'll be doing is doing a case study of the West Midlands Police Sikh Association. So you can get a grasp of what's been done at a local level here and what we intend to do on a national basis, but also, so what we'll be doing on a large scale, right? And all we ask is that for those from those that are here present from other forces, to support your colleagues when they come knock on your doors. You will know what to expect and to support them. So, yeah, before I start very quickly, can I just take this opportunity to thank the Sikh channel and Sangat TV who actually come here, who will be recording as well. So this message, the message that we're giving out today, will be going out internationally to the Sikh community at large as well. So again, for them to see the presence here in this room is quite encouraging for the Sikh community to know that the authorities do understand us and are willing to work with us as well. Okay, very quickly, sorry, apologies. So one thing you might be thinking, so what are we going to gain from this police force? So from this police association? And there might be some things in your head thinking, actually, what are the changes going to be? The changes aren't this. Right? So what I was thinking is, right, we won't be asking for a change of uniform, right? So we're not going to be asking for khaki uniforms, colourful turbans, and a 6-foot bamboo stick when asking for that. Not yet, anyway. All right. So, okay. So when we join jobs, we like putting the little hashtag. I want to go the extra mile. We all say that. I remember putting it in my application when I joined the force as well. But what does it actually mean by going the extra mile? Police officers, regardless of which faith you're from, police officers in general go the extra mile every single day. When you're not getting your lunch, when you're finishing late, you've gone the extra mile. And that's a credit to the police officers. Sometimes the community can't see that, but we know how it is, right? And for the services as well, not just the police as well, the extra mile definitely does, the extra mile and a bit more as well. It's always the case. So for the community that's listening out there, do support us because it's not the most easiest job at all. So since we started in 2013, there's been a number of projects that we've been doing and we're quite proud of. I think one of the worst things that we've done is we don't really promote it as much, and maybe that's a humbling factor from being Sikh, where the most important thing for us is that things are getting done. It's not about taking credit for look what we're doing. What we want is we want the community to feel empowered and just crack on. If you know something needs to be done, we don't need the go ahead from people. So we don't need to always go to our so-called leaders and say, "I'd like to do this." Just crack on with it. And that's the message to the community really as well. If you know there's some issues in the community that needs addressing, set up your projects and just work with them. So one of the things we did, we listened to the community, and the community at the time in 2013, child exploitation was a big factor. And we usually get the whole thing about the police aren't doing anything. So what we did was in 2014 we put on an event at the Warsaw campus of Roehampton University to talk about this, and we had professionals that actually work in those fields come in and talk to the community about what the police actually do. We all know that we can't actually go into find the details of every case and inform the community about that, but there are results. So I think Deb Gold should be here today as well from CPS, who actually did a talk about about a work stream that she did as well, and it's with the help of the community that we can actually counter the issues that we come across. The associations have been quite involved with recruitment as well. We've gone on a number of Sikh channels to promote recruitment. As you can see the picture on the bottom right, but also we've actually had a presence at Menin Gates as well. So we took some officers from the West Midlands to Menin Gates, and we had the privilege of actually being part of the ceremony to remember those that fell during the First World War. So the first one was going the extra mile and a little further. That's what we do as an association. We don't just go the extra mile, we like to go that little bit further. And what we do is we base it on the community, because the main thing for the community to understand is, I am the community, I am the Sikh community. The officers that are here are the community. We're not separate from the Sikh community, we are the community. So when we're doing projects, it's projects that affect us close at home as well. So my wife isn't a police officer, she's the wife of a police officer, but she's still a community. You get my gist? Okay, so the way I think I mentioned here to a number of people, me being a police officer alone, we do the best we can in the community. However, for the Sikh community to benefit from the Sikh officer has to play a role. Otherwise, if I don't go the extra mile as a Sikh officer, I'm just a police officer to the community. So it's about what can we do, and we're aware about awareness internally as well. So a lot of our focus has been external, but we've done a number of things internally as well. And one was about the awareness of the Sikh faith. What does it actually mean? And we put on 2 events, and the events were about issues that are in the community, about interfaith marriages, and about the safeguard for the Guru Granth Sahib, which is a respect for the Guru Granth Sahib, which we raised as well. Because sometimes you can read a footnote or read some literature, you don't really get the grasp. What we wanted to allow our officers to actually feel the presence and understand it on a physical level. So what we did was we put on 2 events at the Gurdwara and brought officers present so they could actually experience what it feels to be a Sikh, but also about the sentiments around some of the issues we have the protests that take place. Why do Sikhs protest? Protest is a big factor of Sikh. And the first Sikh protester was Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Because when they saw injustice, they protested. And that's the nature of the Sikh. But why do we, and how do we manage that? So, regards to Guru Granth Sahib, to a non-Sikh, it might be just seen as a book. It's not a book. It's not something you stick under your arm. A religious person walks into a room and he opens it and starts reading it. There's a whole ceremony involved. The top picture, the top left, shows that ceremony. So we want, the response we got from the officers was immense, because they actually understood how Sikh sentiments are heard when it comes to the scriptures. But that's our duty as police officers, to be doing that, educating our own. But it's also looking at issues that are in the community. Now, when I was a naval officer in Handsworth, there were a number of gold thefts taking place. So what we would do is, as soon as we saw somebody with a gold chain, we would approach them and say, could you please conceal it? There's an issue with robberies here. But there's only so much we can do, because those that realise the aunties like to put on a bit of a display, and it's like, who are you to tell me this? I remember one instance where I approached this elderly lady and I said, Auntie, could you just make that discreet? And she goes, okay. And she moved her sari out the way, and she had 3 more chains underneath. So we need to be doing something different. So what we did is we worked alongside the comms team, and we said we need something that's impactful on the community, and they get the message. And it was seen, we can't show something too gruesome, because otherwise, it's a bit of put off. We're like, the community will only understand it in that way. So that's just a leaflet. But however, on YouTube, there's a video which we created with the comms team, which shows a robbery taking place, of a female walking with her chain, and the message was translated in 3 languages, telling people to conceal your items, to be conscious when you're out there. And the beauty about the Punjabi language, the language of the 5 rivers, is the fact that it's spoken and understood by the most of the Indian subcontinent, but also across faiths. So you have Hindus, Muslims, and you have Sikhs who understand the Punjabi language. So when we produced that short video about awareness around the gold, it wasn't just for the Sikh community, it was cross-board. And I'm thankful for the channels that actually played it during the summertime. So that's when it tends to happen. So the channels usually play that video just to reinforce the message every summer. Okay. So the other things that the association's been doing, we've been helping other forces set up their associations as well. The last one we did was Leicestershire, so we will continue to do that. But it was as a result of having ourselves established and being in a position to actually go out there and help others as well. Okay, so benefits to the policing also involves around issues in the community as well. We provided an insight to our supervisors about how to tackle issues when they arise, about the sentiments about the Sikhs, and we're also producing documents as well. So now that we're going national, we're hoping to work with other organisations in the government as well to actually get that understanding a bit more clear and to share with other forces around the country. Okay, so local engagement, working with charities. We're not here to reinvent the wheel. And this is a message I'd like to give out to the community as well. It's not about someone's doing something, let's do the same as well. We don't need to do that. Let's not reinvent the wheel. What we're about is looking at organisations that are doing great work out there, and the way we look at it, how can we actually help them and support them to grow stronger. Right? So it's not about branding, that we want to push our brand. It's about how can we, in our position as officers, in our day-to-day, how can we use our skill sets that we have gained to help organisations become that little bit better, and that's what we're about. So when we see an organisation doing well, we will help them in any way that they want, really. I mean, the organisation, the associations raise thousands for charities. I mean, Sonny here is a prime example who on a regular basis will raise hundreds of thousands of pounds for charities. The picture on the top right is working with those individuals in the community that want to do that little bit more. We want to go the extra mile. So that was a contact we had in the community who wanted to supply sleeping bags and warm clothing to the community. They were in contact with ourselves, and we helped facilitate that, where officers from up and down the West Midlands came to collect those items to give to the homeless. And that's not us doing anything extraordinary. That's just us being Sikhs. And I think that's that's something to remember as a Sikh as well. Sometimes, yes, the community does a lot, but really all we're doing is we're doing what's expected of us and what we've been commanded to do. Okay, local engagement. There was a picture I was tempted to put of the chief looking very dashing in his biking gear, but I thought maybe not. But I'm setting up a WhatsApp group afterwards. I can forward it on that. So for the last 2 years, we've been helping the Sikh helpline, supporting the annual bike ride. Gyanani Sukhasing is here. Please do speak to him during the break as well. It's formidable work, and we work quite closely with him in helping out with issues around policing. And we have to accept sometimes, the different channels, people don't contact the police, but they will contact the likes of Gyanani Sukhasing on the Sikh helpline. So what we do is we encourage the individuals to report matters to the police, which is key. And then with ourselves going national, we're hoping that we can help Gyanani Sukhasing that a little bit more. Okay, and it's important, like I said, about being part of the community. We are the community. So we take part in Nagar Kirtans and also camps as well. I think it's important for the youngsters to see a physical presence, not just of a police officer in a picture, but actually to physically see police officers in the flesh, really. So during the camps as well, we will go and talk about how officers that are in specific departments to come out and talk about stuff to the children. And that's just using our expertise as officers and bringing it out to the community. Okay, so it's called International Charity Work. It should be called Around the World with Eek. Eek is, she's right at the back there. She's our little international mascot. So she works quite closely with Khalsa Aid. A bit more. Okay, so she's been out to Nepal and Haiti doing charity work with Khalsa Aid. Brilliant example of funds raised from the Sikh Association will go to Eek, who will actually not just give the funds into a pot, she will actually physically go there and help out as well. We're hoping that we can encourage other officers to do that, and that's with the support of the forces as well, really. So these type of initiatives will be coming your way, and all we ask is that you support it. Some of the things we've done internationally in India is a free dental camp for those that can't afford treatment. Working with international partners to go out there and deliver these camps. There's also worked with orphanages as well, And that's an area of work which we will be increasing on as well, and giving the opportunity to officers and colleagues and police staff to go out abroad to spread the message of the work we're doing. Yeah. Okay, so alcohol abuse. We're not here to shy away from issues that affect the community. That's not what we're about. Alcohol abuse is a massive issue in the community. And there's two organisations we work in Shanti here as well, and also Detour, which is a referral agency that we can refer people in without having a waiting list, because we know the issues that are around there. There will be some ongoing work around this area, and something I was going to mention at the end, but I'll mention now. We're looking at doing a drink drive campaign directed at the Sikh community, not at the drivers, at the offenders, at the families, because there's the ownership on the family of not getting in that car in the first place. I'll leave it at that, but watch this space. You'll be seeing a short video coming out to address that problem. Mental well-being. Last year I went to a funeral of a young male, Sikh male, who committed suicide, and it was becoming a trend, an issue that was affecting the community at large. So I always say there's always a positive that comes out of a negative. If there's one positive that came out of him passing away, was the fact that on his funeral people spoke about it's an issue and we need to be doing something about it. So eager enough, what I decided to do was I called a friend on the way from home, and he's actually sitting here, took his sagoo, said, and I was asking him what's out there for Sikh males out there in the community regarding this issue, and he goes, there isn't anything. So what we decided to do was, this all on the way home, you grab a phone, I'll grab a phone, and let's just answer for calls for people. And that's our initial intent, that's all we were going to do. But then what we did was we looked at who else was doing something, working on the same project. So we brought other people, Sikh males, around the table to talk about this. And some streams started to come out about creating awareness about suicidal in the Sikh Punjabi community as well. And I was fortunate enough to come across this young man who isn't here today, he's not feeling well, but Sangat, the young lad on the top right here, young lad in his 20s who's at university. So when I contacted Taraki to say, this is what we're doing, would you like to be on board? I was expecting someone my age to be at the end. I was surprised to come across a young man who's still at university in his 20s, and he wanted to tackle the issue, the taboo subject of mental health in the Sikh community. He's actually been awarded last week, he was awarded a Young Person Star Award by West Midlands Combined Authority for all the work he's been doing. And as a result of his work, we supported him as much as we could in his work to help him get to where he is as well. There's now a female version. So what he does is quite simple. If you go on Instagram, you can find him on Instagram, on social media. He's asked for people to contribute about their mental health problems, to come out openly about it. He includes a picture, and he puts the job that the person belongs to and their age, to show that it affects every single one. Right? No one's immune to mental health. So, and he puts a little biography of the person talking about themselves, about their issues. So, a great piece of work here. But what we did was, using our contacts that we've made, I contacted the NHS, and we were able to put on a 2-day course, a mental health first aid course for 10 organisations. And the one thing I said to these 10 organisations was, individually, you will never hit your 100%. And I believe this is for every organisation. You will never hit your 100%. Because by saying you will hit your 100%, is saying that I'm the only one that can do this. But the message I wanted to portray to the 10 organisations was, collectively, we'll smash it. But individually, there's only so much we can do. And the message I want to do, we need to start working together in all spheres of work to get the best out. The driving point should be about the end result. Not about branding, about who's doing what, about the work stream. That's the most important part. And that's what this association is all about. It's not about we're doing this. We want to help others get to the end goal. People need support. The end result is about supporting those individuals. So there's ongoing work that we're still doing. As a result of that mental health first aid, Sharon is actually trained as a trainer. And he's actually going into the universities. He will be going into the universities and talking to and providing this training to students in university campuses. Okay, so the link. We are the link to the community, and I urge forces to utilise that link. We're not, sometimes we tend to go external, but we're sitting here amongst you. Talk to us when there's things that are troubling the community. We are the community. We can let you know what's going on. There's a number of organisations we get called by on a regular basis. I would go as far as to say on a weekly basis. And just for confidentiality, I'm not going to mention the organisations, but there's a number of organisations that contact us about issues where we can advise them of the best ways of doing going about the business. So if there's organisations out there that do want to contact us, by all means contact us, and we'll see where we can provide our support for you. Okay, so the garden, Pant Maharaj here. May the sovereign flag of the Sikhs continue to flourish around the world and fly high. That's what we're about. We were made to stand out, and that's what we'll continue to do. So talking about future projects, we're currently in talks with a number of people around a regular TV show to go on online or on the channels and actually talk about matters that affect the Sikh community, and also give crime prevention advice in Punjabi. Sometimes, we're forgetting our elders who don't still speak English or don't really understand it. So what's the best way we can give the message to them? So it's via these channels. So that's in the pipeline as well, and that will be going national, international. The channels are all international now. So that's the type of work we'll be doing. I've mentioned the drink drive campaign as well, so I'll be talking to Shanti afterwards about how we can deliver that. We will be setting the organisations up as well, so the various of the forces that are present today as well, and we're in talks with them as well, and we'll be helping them set up the Sikh associations as well to carry on the great work really. And also there's a couple of organisations here I've spoken to. Safeguarding is key. Safeguarding is everyone's issue here, right? It's responsibility of everybody. So what we want to do is we want to work with groups that want to be active, not sitting around tables about what shall we do. We know what we need to do. So we'll be talking to those organisations, we're bringing them together and setting some kind of group up where we just go there and just deliver. Because that's the delivery is key. For too long we've been speaking about things that need to be done. When are they going to get done? So, we will be contacted by listening out there as well. Do contact us if you want to contribute and just crack on. That's what we're about. By all means, do. Initiative that we actually worked on, which we're hoping to fine-tune and then take out to the rest of the forces, is it's all we call it SCAN. It's basically a number of agencies from the community that come together in the likelihood of a terrorist attack in the West Midlands. We've had some working around how can we best facilitate Gurdwara premises to accommodate and support the agencies. So we were talking to charities, the Association of Doctors and Nurses, about how can we congregate in one area and actually supply that extra support to the agencies if ever an incident that was to take place, just to fine-tune it, and that's something that we will be delivering out to other forces as well. So how can you help? So just support us. The community is to have faith in us in the work we're doing and to support us. And for the forces, all we'll ask is that when we start knocking on your doors, open them with big arms, right, and let us in. And it's all about what we can do for you and collectively make an impact. So again, so
the next speaker I'm going to introduce is one of the two female inspirational speakers that we have today, a lady by the name of Deb Gould. Now I invite Deb Gould to make her way to the front. Deb is a principal Crown advocate. Deb's role involves preparation of serious criminal cases on behalf of the Crown. Deb's specialised cases are that of homicide, multi-handed sexual offences, child trafficking, and importantly, child sexual exploitation. Thank you.
Good morning. It's very nice to meet all of you. It was a very grand opening, so I hope I can live up to it in some respects. I wasn't really sure what I was going to say today, and while I was preparing it, I was really thinking about the name of the organisation. So, the National Association of Sikh Police Officers. So it's two aspects of identity, being Sikh and being a police officer, and how those two things intertwine. Now, for me, the very first time I was involved in any case involving a Sikh police officer two Sikh officers, very experienced officers. Also happened to be a case involving a murder involving members of the Sikh community. And when I prosecuted that case, there were a whole series of things I just did not know. And I made a lot of assumptions. I got a lot of things wrong, I'm sure. But I had people who were there to assist me. And there's a poem that I found that I'm going to read you a little bit of, because it struck me when I was thinking back to that case. It says, and I won't read you all of it, there is something I don't know that I'm supposed to know. I don't know what it is I don't know, and yet I am supposed to know. And I feel I look stupid. I feel that you know what I'm supposed to know, but you can't tell me what it is because you don't know that I don't know what it is. And that very much struck me when I thought back to that case, because there were, not just for me, but for other members of the people involved in that case, a lot of learning. So the father of the victim came to the UK. His daughter had come from India. She had been murdered. He didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any Urdu. We weren't able to communicate except through the officers who were there to assist me. I wasn't able to understand many of the customs and practices which were new to me, and I had people who were able to explain that to me. And as a result of that and the sensitivity of how it was handled by the officers involved and the understanding of the victim's father in how we dealt with things, it turned out to be a very successful case. Now, leading on from that, I was involved in a child sexual exploitation case, and Sunita invited me to come and speak to the University of Wolverhampton because the community had asked for somebody to come and speak about CSE because it was a subject that was very much hidden and something that people didn't want to discuss. And together with Harvey, who allowed me to speak for an inordinate length of time, I don't quite know why, we had, I hope, a very positive engagement where a subject that I know people find is very difficult was opened up, and I was able to speak about the case that I had done and hear back from the community about some aspects of CSE which caused them concern. Now, things have moved on from there because recently I've been involved in a forced marriage case. Again, one of the officers involved in that case was a Sikh police officer. That didn't involve any members of the Sikh community. But again, it was an example to me of that other part of identity, the excellent policing that I was provided, and all of the knowledge that I didn't have around other communities. So I'm very proud to be invited to speak here today. I hope that the message that I'm trying to convey is that I have very much valued all of the input from every police officer I've been involved with, whether they've been Sikh or not, but the fact of that other aspect of identity has opened up for me a whole new way of communicating, a whole new understanding, and given me the opportunity to be much more, I hope, sensitive and aware of different aspects of the community which I serve as well as you. I don't know if there's anything else that I can usefully add, but I wish you very good luck with the organisation, and I hope that you are able to progress things in future and bring that cultural awareness, sensitivity, knowledge back to help people like me prosecute cases successfully, because ultimately what we are all here to do is to bring our collective knowledge, our collective heritage together so that we can serve the whole of the community in this area. Thank you very much.
She is the National Vice Chair of the Police Federation of England and Wales. He's a spokesman for the Federation on Diversity and Mental Health.
Good morning, everyone. I've been called a lot of names in my career as a police officer. It's Shay, and it's really an absolute pleasure to be here today, not to mention a privilege as well. Today, the National Sikh Police Association becomes the 13th National Staff Association to be formed. And that's really something to be applauded, and something that we are rightfully celebrating today. I know recently Harvey was given a bravery award by his chief. Harvey, as the leader of one organisation to another, once you've got your feet under the table, I think you'd be up for another bravery award in a bit as well. I said about the day being around the launch of the National Sikh Police Association, but today is also special because it's the National Time to Talk Day. So this is the day that they've set aside and identified to talk about issues of mental health. And we had a presentation just a little while ago to stress the importance of mental health and well-being. And in the police service, it's even more so important. Nationally, we look at a figure of 1 in 4 people suffering with mental health. Within the police service, through work that's been conducted by Mind, and it's not just the police service, I would stress it's across all emergency services, that number is doubled. So the risk of suffering in mental health in the emergency services is sitting at around 1 in 2, or 50%, which is an extremely high risk. And in policing, the ability to talk about those issues are further exacerbated by the culture of policing. For a significant period of time, policing has always been male-dominated, and with male-dominated cultures and the rough-and-tumble world of policing, there's an element of machoism which still exists, and because of that, it's not often talked about. And I said mainly male-dominated. 29% of the service it amounts to female police officers. We haven't hit a 50% mark yet. So particularly in this service, it becomes difficult to talk about these things. And when it goes wrong around mental health, it goes terribly wrong. And speaking as an organisation which represents police officers, we know that sadly, on Christmas Eve, we lost officers through suicide, and we lost a number of other officers later on in the year as well. And I spoke about policing being a difficult area to talk about it in, but there are some communities and some cultures where it's even more difficult and harder. And where we have a conversation about it, in those areas it's more of a whisper than it is actually a conversation. And this is one of the reasons why staff support networks, staff associations are so important. By their very design, they're there to support, advise, assist, and guide their members through a multitude of issues. And I've spoken about members within policing, but we've seen the fantastic work that the West Midlands Sikh Police Association has done within communities. And that's echoed in the same, through the same reasoning. It also helps to identify with a particular group. And the importance around staff association and networks fulfill that role, particularly if it's an issue around religion, or you want to identify with someone because of their ethnicity, their sexuality, their sexual orientation, or indeed their disability. And all of this just adds value to an organisation. While the value of support networks can't be quantified in pounds and pence, the value that is attributed to an employee, a police officer, or a police staff member, who is motivated, committed, satisfied with their work, can be measured. And indeed, it's an attribute that's sought after. And this is what staff associations and support networks do. They add value to an organisation in the support that they provide to their membership. This is something to be applauded and welcomed. And like I said, I've just spoken about the value that staff associations bring within the workplace. I haven't even mentioned the effects that it has on communities as well. This year, the Police Federation of England and Wales celebrates its 100 years of existence. We were formed in 1919 under very different circumstances. It was the police that were going on strike at the time due to poor working conditions and pay. As a result of that, the Police Act of 1919 was introduced, and the formation of the Police Federation came about as the statutory staff association to look after the rank and file officers, to look after everyone from constable to chief inspector, and we continue to do so today, looking after about 117,000 police officers. The issues back then were different to the issues we face now, although I'd probably say there's quite a similarity in some of those issues. But the fundamental purpose remains the same. And that is pretty much around the fundamental purpose of the Sikh Police Association, which is to provide support for your members. And today's launch is the first step in that process. The journey that Harvey's undertaken, and Harvey and his team are undertaken for the Sikh Police Association, is laying that first stone of a strong foundation upon which you can build, grow, and develop. And certainly, on behalf of the Police Federation of England and Wales, I wish Harvey and his team the very best in driving the organisation forward, and look forward to working long and hard to continue to build and work upon the results that have been proven and spoken about here today. And I thank you for your friendship and counsel. Thank you very much.
The next speaker I'd like to invite to the front is Mr. Nav Malik, who is the Deputy Chief Constable for Cambridgeshire Constabulary. Mr. Malik's achievements within policing include him to being the highest ranking Asian and Muslim officer in the United Kingdom. Mr. Malik also chairs the Positive Action Practitioners Alliance.
Chief Constable, distinguished guests, members of the public, and my colleagues, Vaigu Khalsa Vaigu Fateh to you all, and Assalamu Alaikum to you all as well. Folks, it's a real pleasure to be here today amongst, again, friends, families, brothers and sisters as well, and the community that we all serve here, and congratulate you all on the obviously inauguration of your Sikh Association today. Obviously, I recognise that Metropolitan Police have done a lot of work in the forwarding to where we are today. I want to recognise their work, but obviously it's Harvey and the wider team that have obviously taken us to where we've got to today. So a real pleasure. I just want to recognise also the Sikh community in wider context in terms of their contribution to society, and then the links to policing if I can. So history has shown that the Sikh community worldwide has been really instrumental in supporting all communities in terms of care, compassion, and that public service ethos is really, really clear. So your wider work in the public around Seva, Manga, the work you do, supporting sort of other faiths, so Muslim faiths around the Rohingya Muslims, and also in the Middle East. The work you're doing around camps today is absolutely magnificent, and again, I congratulate you around that. So extrapolate that forward into policing and what it means. It means that clearly, as a Sikh association, you are doing some brilliant work that's been shown and demonstrated in communities, and long may that continue. And I think that will bring out not only your own Sikh community in terms of supporting the police, but all communities in support of the police as well. The care and compassion you've shown is showing that regardless of your faith, your culture, ethnicity, whatever you're from, the Sikh community and the police association will be there to support you. So again, a really big thank you to you for that. As an association, I think also you will need to be strong in obviously supporting policing, which you will all do and are doing, but also support policing in terms of getting our policies, our procedures, our processes right as well. So being that critical friend is really, really important, and making sure that where we are getting things wrong or we need that support and advice, that you step up and you support, and I know you all do. But also I think being strong with other staff associations, different religious groups within policing as well. I think coming together with all those groups and having a united front will be really, really important. I just want to touch on one big issue, I suppose, really, and that's around policing and progression of recruitment, retention, progression of police officers and police staff in policing from diverse backgrounds. I chair a national group called the PAPA Group, the Positive Action Practitioners Alliance, which is a cohort of people who've come together 43 police force representatives and non-home office representatives who come together to look at the complexity of how we push and develop people from diverse backgrounds with all protected characteristics in policing, really importantly. Now, it's complex both in terms of engaging communities, but how do we hold on to people, how do we progress them based on talent and merit? I think what we recognise that's what we need to do. So we are making some real national strides. And I just wanted to, if you didn't mind, call out a few people. If I can ask them to stand very quickly, I'll explain why in a minute. So Inspector Singh from Cambridgeshire, goes there. PC Aaron Singh from Cambridgeshire, in the front here. Tej from GMP, Tej, there he is. Harvey from West Midlands, obviously, there he is, Harvey. Ranj and Jazz from Derbyshire, gents, do you mind standing up? Suki Balpam, Nita from TVP, where's Nita? There she is. Cam from City of London. And Jazz Core, who may not stand up, but show your hand, Jazz, so everybody knows who you are. Folks, if you look around the room, these are people who are part of the Positive Action Practitioners Alliance. They are Sikh police officers and police staff, and they are representing you nationally around Sikh sort of recruitment, progression and retention. They are doing a brilliant job for you nationally. I'm really proud. They work very closely with me, all of them. So folks, do look around the room. They are from the West Midlands, around the country. There are others involved in a lot of good work locally and regionally, but these colleagues in particular are helping on a national level. So can I show your appreciation to their work? So folks, the challenge for colleagues in the room and those who aren't here, we need people to come to the ranks based on merits and talent, clearly, show your communities how strong you are, but also try and get promoted. We need, again, another Sikh officer at chief officer level, male and or female, or clearly police staff equivalent. So folks, that's my challenge back to you. And again, in terms of that endeavour around recruitment, to all my colleagues in the room from whichever faith, whichever culture, whichever background or BME background, please ask colleagues where you work, to support, where you live in communities, ask people and encourage people to join the police. I think it's really important. Tola is in the room here, the chair of the National Black Police Association. There was in front of the Home Affairs Select Committee 2 days ago. In terms of diversity in policing, we're not in a great place. We are making progress. I know Dave Thompson stepped out, but I want to acknowledge the work that David's done here locally around progressing, and other forces, but in particular West Midlands around progression, but not quite enough. We need to do more, and I think it's due to all of us to kind of get there. So once again, thank you very much to you for myself, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
I'm now going to introduce the next speaker. It's going to be Lieutenant Suli Al-Hadji. Lieutenant Suli Al-Hadji served previously in the Parachute Regiment. He's now serving in the Army in the Physical Training Corps. He is the head of the Army Youth Outreach Team based at the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst, with his part to play with the Army Engagement Group.
Hi everybody. Oh, come on. Hi everybody. Hello. That's better, wake up. Right, so my name is Suli. Shan, Shin. It's probably your name was bad, my name's worse. It's Suli, spelled with an S. Think of it as Julie, but say it with an S. Call me Sue and I'll kill you. Okay, so, thanks for demoting me. Where are you? I'm not a lieutenant, I'm a lieutenant colonel. Yeah, I'm the most senior black officer in the army who has come through the ranks. You make me blush, and I can't go red, I go maroon. Okay, so just to give you some context, first of all, I am honoured and privileged to be here today to speak to you. I was up at 4:30 to get here, so I'm pretty tired. But I'm honoured to be here. It's amazing. For a couple of reasons. One, I look around and I see so many non-white faces that it's a good thing. It shows that we're diverse and we're inclusive. So that's a good thing. So I'm really proud of that. Because when I joined the army, as soon as you're going to start doing the maths now, good luck with that one. When I joined the army, you had terminology like, and I'm quoting, so don't give me a hard time, that was on the TV programmes. And I used to watch them. Some of you remember, Love Thy Neighbour? Yeah? I used to laugh at that when I was a little kid, but not next day going to school. That was horrible, because the kids used to call me that. But what made it worse was the parents used to call me as well, or endorse it by laughing. And that was horrible, because I thought parents were guardians, but they didn't turn out to be like that. So that was the kind of era that I grew up in. And of course, in that era, you had bad people, let's call them bad people, and then you had decent people. And the army, like the police, like industry, like commerce, recruits from society where the bad people and the good people are. So it stands to reason that within the army, within the police, and everybody else, there are bad people. You get my drift? Yes, nods are good. We haven't got a filter to get them out. So I'm going to pause there, and I'll come back to that in a minute, yeah? So a little bit about me. I joined the army a long time ago. I joined the parachute regiment for bragging rights, only for 3 years, but I liked it. I then went to the Falklands War. You're doing the maths now, aren't you? You won't get it. Went to the Falklands War, coldest place I've ever been, and the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I then came back, we went to the jungle, and it was brilliant. Come back from the jungle, and I got bored, and I like excitement, so I joined the Royal Army Physical Training Corps, and as my wife says, I now do marching and handstands, because in the Physical Training Corps, we train people how to get fit. I then got promoted, and then kept getting promoted, because I was enjoying the job. I think if I count back, I think it's about 11 times, which is good, because it shows the army's progressing. Back to that story now. The army has changed so much, but we don't have a filter like an aircraft, an airport where you go through and it goes, beep, you're a bad person, get out. We don't have that. But what we do have is we have policy in place. And we have mandated annual testing and training. Every year, everybody, no matter what rank, goes through this training. And one of the things we look at is diversity and inclusion, or one of the subjects. Every year, everybody gets that. So everybody knows that you can't say bad things. You can't discriminate against anybody or any group, because you've been told to, you've had the training. We also have core values that we use, which are very similar to what other religions have. So we call them sea drills, because we like a mnemonic. So we have courage, discipline, respect for others, integrity, loyalty, and selfless commitment. They're all values, and we live by them. So, when one of these bad people, you still with me? Good. One of these bad people put their head above the parapet and says something derogatory to anybody, not only will the person who's receiving that say something, but other people will say that's wrong, and they'll report them. And then the policies kick in, and we can do something about it. That might be a sincere apology, or it might be kicked out of the army. Now, I believe we are the only organisation, Army, Navy and Air Force, who have that policy. I don't think any other organisation has the powers to do that, but it would be a useful thing if they did. So the Army's come a long way. And who's been doing the maths? Because I've been in the Army a long time, yeah? And I've stayed in. People say, why do you stay in? Because I've been through some stuff. And people say, why do I stay in? And that's why I stay in, because of the testing that we've got, the annual testing, and for the core values that we've got. Because I've seen it change. And I've seen people are getting promoted. And there's more black faces getting promoted now, because we have to promote from the bottom up. You can't come in, because the army doesn't work like that, because you haven't got the experience. When the chips are down, you need to tap into your experience. So yeah, that's why I enjoy the army. So, what do? Well, I've done quite a few jobs. I've had some brilliant jobs. I was in charge of the adventurous training in Canada for 2 years. I had a $4.7 million budget to provide adventurous training. I had a 4x4, massive big mug of coffee, driving to work with the Rockies in front of me. It was brilliant. That's not the best job I've had. The best job I've had is the one I'm in now. I'm in part of the Army Engagement Group. Now, the Army Engagement Group is a group of 4 teams. We go out and we engage with the public. Now, a quick jump through them. Army Engagement Team 1, where my boss runs it, they do the pedestal and the script, and I've stood in for him, and it's a nightmare, because I'm dyslexic as well, and it's hard to read. So they go out and they deliver presentations, about 45 a year, to Lord Lieutenants, Captains of Industry, Headmasters, and the general public. So you can imagine the questions that they'll get asked from that. So that's what they do. Then we have Army Engagement Team 2, which is a scaled-down version of that, and they go anywhere, and they talk to anybody or any groups about what your army's doing. And then you have the Armed Forces Diversity Engagement Group, which is a tri-service group. I know some of you might have heard about these. There's 3 women, one from a squadron leader from the RAF, a chief petty officer from the Navy, and a corporal from the Army.
So one of the less pleasant duties I've got in force today is the funeral of PCSO Holly Burke, who those who've been forced will know about, who was killed as a result of a stolen vehicle crashing into her, which was part of the police operation we were carrying out at the time. It's very tragic. Holly had been with the force for 14 months in the West Midlands, made a huge difference, had a massive impact on the community, and in that a very short life had a transformational impact. So I think what we'd like to do, just because it is a recognition of her death today, we just have a stand for a minute's silence. Thank you.
We have a 2-pronged attack, so we work in 2 areas. First of all, we go and speak to gatekeepers. Now, what we call a gatekeeper is anybody who's got influence over a minor. Could be the elder brother, sister, uncles, cousins, religious leaders. And we go out and we speak to them and we myth bust. Now, I'll give you an example of the perception of some of the public have on the army. I'm stood in an event in my camouflage uniform, which you all know as army, yeah? That's why you picture an army soldier in camouflage kit. I'm stood there, somebody came up to me and said, "Why are you wearing that?" I said, "What?" He says, "That uniform." So I'm in the army. And then said, "What army?" I said, "The British Army." They generally didn't know. That is the level of, or lack of knowledge that's out there by some cohorts. And it's my job, my team's job, to go out there and give them the information. A lot of them think that you join the army and you die. I've been to 2 wars. The fact is, there are 75% of jobs in the army that are supporting and don't see the front line, and there are 25% of the jobs where you do. So the chances are you're not going to see a bullet. So we go out there and we do myth busting and tell them exactly, and we're very truthful, and we tell them exactly what it is. There are 2 questions we don't answer: have you killed anybody, or political questions. When I first went out, I got stunned by an 11-year-old boy, and he said, are you as good as cod? And I'm stood there and thinking, fish? Why would I be like a fish? And then my lance corporal said, Call of Duty, sir. Fair enough. And we get that a lot as well, and we are better than the Call of Duty, just for the note. So we do gatekeeping, and then we go and deliver activities to the youth, because hopefully these gatekeepers will give us access to the youth, and we go out there and we deliver to the youth. Now, some of the feedback we're getting from the teachers and from the kids are, I thought you'd come in and shout at us and get us muddy and wet. Oh, I didn't know you taught lessons. Oh, the kids the next day were buzzing. They came back and had full attention, the attendance in the class. It was amazing. So that's the kind of feedback we're getting. So I'm happy where we are now. We're doing a good job and we're exciting kids. But where I'm now taking it is when I'm now looking at disadvantaged groups, those who are on the cusp of going bad, knife crime, things like that. For example, I've now linked up with Ormiston Trust, which have disadvantaged children. There are secure homes around the country as well. I've linked into them. And then the next stage, in a few months' time, I'm going to try and get into young offenders' prisons. I also want to try and get involved in knife crime. I have got a checkered past, and that resonates with these kids, and it authenticates my story, and they feel, well, if you can do it, I can do it, because I'm real and I've done what they're doing or thinking about doing. don't check up on my record. So it's quite authentic, and I say it now. I never used to. I was embarrassed about it, but I now can use it as a positive tool, and it works really well. Example, I was in a secure home up in Newcastle, Kylo House, 12 students, 50 staff. That's how secure it is. Just to give an example of how vulnerable these kids are. One girl was raped at the age of 5, repeatedly by her brother. Another girl was raped at the age of 13 by her mum's boyfriend, and her mum watched. Still sends a shiver down my spine when I say that. So these kids are really mucked up. I turned up there and we started talking. The first thing he said was, "What's them gongs for?" And I said, "Well, that's for riding a bike and that's for swimming." And that broke the ice. And then there was deadly silence. They listened and hung on every word I said, which was great. Next day, sometimes it's small things that count. I sent a text to the teacher saying, "These kids were amazing. I really enjoyed my time with them." She told them kids, now these kids think that no one invests in them, no one likes them. When she told them, they said, "What, a colonel was asking after us?" So they all wrote me individual letters. And some of these letters are really powerful. And one of them says, inspirational, mental, blah, 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 positive role model. But because you've been in a bad place and you have come back and got promoted, I now know there's no reason for me to go in gangs anymore. And I went, wow, that was really powerful. So I used that letter. We got nominated for Business in the City Best Employer of Race. And you had to go and do your pitch. So it was me and a 2-star general. And he delivered the strategic level of what we're doing. I did the engagement bit, and I told them that this is how we engage, more or less what I've just told you. And I said, just an example of how successful it is. Told them about that story. And then I told them about another story. I was in a PRU. I'll assume some don't know what that is. So it's a pupil referral unit. It's a last chance school. You fail the normal school, you then go to the school. It is full of interesting and active and loud kids that have no respect for anybody. We couldn't do what we wanted to do. The kids were jumping on wheelie chairs and smashing into the walls, stabbing each other, not like that with a pencil, but going for it like that. And I thought, wow, pencil sticking out of them. These kids were interesting. So we were going to do a presentation and we thought we couldn't do that. So we managed to corral them into a room. And I started talking about money because I think money talks. I said, how much do you think a junior soldier gets at Harrogate? Have you seen Raw Recruits? Yeah? So one of them. Against an apprentice baker. And then we did a match and compare. This little Asian kid who'd been a right interesting little kid throughout the day, if you get my drift, he looked up at me and said, "I wish you were my dad." Well, my natural instinct was to put my hand on him, but I'm DBS'd, so I can't. And I went, "I wish you were my son." And the teacher started crying. And it was a wonderful moment. And I told the board that as well. 2 months later, we won. The Army, for the first time ever, beat 80 other businesses. We won the Best Employer of Race recruitment. We had to go to the House of Commons to get it, to receive it. So that was quite an honour. And yeah, so we're doing some good stuff. We're having a positive effect. The kids saying, "I wish you were my dad." And you think, why would you want me to be your dad? What's your life like? How can I help? So that's why we want to get into them areas and help these kids. So I'm going to offer you a deal of a lifetime. You ready? You can phone me, you can contact me. I will leave you my details, okay? And you can contact me. We work at Sandhurst, which is in Camberley, Surrey. And if you want me to come and my team, or just me, and then my team will come afterwards, doesn't really matter, then we will come down and deliver. How much does it cost, you're asking? A cup of tea and a biscuit. That's it, okay? So if you want me to come down, my presentation normally takes about an hour. The teams takes about 45 minutes. But they use iPads as well, and we issue them out, and sometimes you get them back, which is good. Only when the system's working. So yeah, it's a really good presentation. So if you want us to come round and help, then we'll do that. The other thing I want to talk to you about is the launch of your network. So we have, in the Army, we have over 30 religions, and we have 12 networks. And there's some of the guys there. Don't check me on this, okay? I'm just making it up as I go along, but they don't know. Don't tell them. So we have 12 networks, and we have an officer, dedicated officer, in our regional headquarters who looks after all the networks. And she's doing it's a hard job because the networks are interesting people, but with all wants and needs, but she's pulling them together. We also, in the army, the highest general is a 4-star general, then we get 3, 2 and 1. The chairman for the Sikh network is who?
Sangat he's currently not here today. He's on
No. Who is your patron?
Victoria Patterson and General Urge.
General Urge. Yeah. So it's General Ty Urge, who is the 3-star patron of the network. So we have some big hitters. Now, in the army, we have in each unit we have a diversity and inclusion or equality and EDA, equality and diversion advisor from each unit. And I went to the D&I meeting last year, and I was really surprised. There was over 500 people there, so that was all the EDAs and all the CEOs and that were there. Plus there was 2 3-star generals, loads of 2-star generals, and loads of full colonels. We take it really serious. Another reason why I stay in, because the army has changed so much. They've invested so much in getting it right. We're not there yet, but we're getting there, and it's a much better place now than it was when I first joined. And we've learned from mistakes in the past, and we put them right. One observation I would give, when it comes to launching a new network, it's good to get people up to say how bad it was, because it reminds people of how bad it was. But my personal view is, the next year, you want to concentrate less on that and more on what is it you offer as a network. You offer quite a few things. You offer, first and foremost, a friendly face and advice to the person concerned. In our case, the private soldier, the lance corporal, of that ethnicity. You're giving them somewhere where they can go and talk to like-minded people and give them advice. Secondly, you're giving the chain of command, your people who are line managers, you're giving them advice on how to deal with people or deal with situations. That's what you're there for, the network, advising. You're also, how can I say this? You're also giving the community that assurance that you actually take that ethnicity seriously. Why? Because you've done something about it. You've got a network. Well, that's good. And they will say like that. Otherwise, so when you go for an interview and you're female or you're black and it's all white or it's all men on the board, it puts you at a disadvantage. And the other one is professionalism, empathy. It shows that you actually care. You're not just saying, you're actually doing something by having a network. So a network is really, really important. And our networks, we've struggled. But we're getting there. And we just had the Women's Service Network just started last year, and I'm going to it next week, and I'm hoping that they've taken on board some of the advice I've given them and concentrate more on what they can now offer, because networks are so important. Right, I think you've heard enough from me. I was going to give you press-ups, because that's my job, but I better not. So thank you for listening to me, and if you want any assistance from me and my team, I will pass my card to you, because you look like you'd like a card. And then come and see me. Give me a phone call. Thank you very much.
So the last but one speaker is another inspirational leader within the business industry, within the Sikh community, Mr. Ninder Johal. Not only has Ninder Johal paved his way in the business industry, in the music industry, and the record company industry, he comes with a vast amount of experience of 25 years. But he only tells me he's 30, so that works well. He was trained well. He has been recently appointed the title of the Deputy Lord Lieutenant for Birmingham. This title was given to him on Saturday, and for that I think it's an amazing achievement. Certainly for us within our community as well. And successfully, I think we can forge some great links with him. A good contact to have, people. So when he does come up, please do share his details and see how we can support the ongoing mission of the National Sikh Police Association. He does strongly believe in the diversity and inclusion and has seen many changes over the last 25 years, certainly in the business industry as well. So whilst I won't jump on your parade, I will invite you to speak.
Let me just give you a little bit of a journey as to why I think this is such an important initiative. So for the last 20 odd years, I was selling records, and to those who know Bhangra. And largely in the first 15 years, I was selling largely to Asian kids. And then we had a big global hit, which meant that I was selling records all around the world. And it's not often you get a top of the pops, top 5 UK hit. So I thought, it's about time I moved into something else. So I moved into event production. But I suddenly realised, as somebody who's born in this country, who's educated in this country, that actually the only white people I knew was the VAT man and the tax man. They're the only white people I knew, yet I was born in this country. So then I went looking for white people to network with. And somebody said, you need to go and join the Chamber of Commerce. You will meet a lot of white people. I met a lot of white people. I then joined the Black Country Lep. And guess what? I met a lot more white people. So suddenly it became apparent to me that, despite being born in this country and educated in this country, that too often society is fragmented and there is a lack of integration from all sides. Let me point the finger at you. We get up in the morning, we go down the stairs, there's possibly a big mirror as we leave the house, and we look in the mirror and we say, gosh, aren't we good? Don't I look great? So what do we do when we leave that house? Well, we then look and talk to people who look like us because we think we're great. We talk to people who look like us and speak like us because we're great. We talk to and speak to people who dress like us because actually we're great. So what we're doing, irrespective of brown, black, white, we perpetuate the very thing we shouldn't be doing. It's not a colour thing, it's part of our DNA. So how do we get around this? Well, this is one great initiative. Because actually what it's forcing us all to do is understand that everybody is different. And we should therefore include and, very importantly, understand that difference. If we understand that difference, then I think society will change. Why does difference matter? Well, if I'm sitting next to somebody who's Polish, or I'm sitting next to somebody who's working class kid, there's a great probability I will understand their background, and actually, in a working environment, they might bring a perspective that I've never thought of. Because actually, they don't look like me, they don't speak like me, and they don't dress like me. And unfortunately, those are the norms we adopt when we meet people. Within 30 seconds of someone entering the room, you will make a decision as to whether you like them or not. That's how we recruit people. We recruit people in the first 20 seconds. So, when a CV drops in front of you, my recommendation is don't throw it away. Don't read it once, don't read it twice, read it 3 times. Then get that person in front of you. Because actually a piece of paper is a rubbish thing to look at. Unpeel the layers and get on the inside, because I guarantee there's going to be talent in there that a piece of paper didn't show you. And why did we reject the piece of paper? Because actually we couldn't recognize the name. And when we don't recognize something that's different to us, we reject it. So this initiative is great for the police. It's great for all people who are different. And I would say we can only function as a society if we have what we call inclusive society. A society that's based on economics that is best for all. So, I, in my new role, will work as close as I possibly can to make sure that we promote the agenda for diversity and inclusion. And this should be the first of many initiatives we as a society should adopt and promote. And that is my piece. Thank you for listening.
So, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, Mr. Harvey Ryan.
Thank you to each and every one of you making the effort today. I know some colleagues have flown in from Scotland and they've come from Kent and all places, and West Yorkshire, I think our ACC is here somewhere. Thank you, Mark. And the London crew. Plymouth. Respect that, thank you. And I think in the last hour and a half, 2 hours, Sunny has developed comparing skills. You get in there, keep going, and I'm sure there'll be another event we can use for your skills again.
10% for the...
Well, there you go. I think everything I wanted to say has been said vicariously by the speakers. There's nothing that they've said which I felt, oh, I don't agree with that. I've been nodding all the way through. And I've been looking around, and a lot of you people were nodding as well. So I'd like to think that we're all in the same place. Now that is a solid soundboard for what we want to do in the future. And Cam, he mentioned the work that we've done and have one extrapolate that and take it across the other forces. We can only do that with the support of the respective constabularies and also from the community, not just the Sikh community. We will be engaging with other communities because some of our projects have involved other communities. We will be reliant heavily on the media. Sikh Channel, Sangat TV are here today. And what we've learned in the last few weeks is that we need to be social media savvy, which we haven't been in the past, and it's been a big learning curve because there are some conversations on social media which we need to be engaging with as well. There's a team here, they've worked for the first time together. There were some challenges, but they've got through and they've set today's event for us. So thank you. If you just give them a round of applause as well. I don't propose to go through every single dignitary here, but you know who you are, and we appreciate the support that you've given us, particularly from the military, the outing force, the army, the navy, and the Royal Air Force. Thank you, Valley, for coming today. Now, when we launched in 2013, we never thought in 5-6 years from now that we would be heading the National Sikh Police Association. But there was somebody there who, it's Dave Thompson, he was there at our initial launch. And he gave us some advice in terms of being externally focused, focus on the community. I don't know if you recall that conversation, but that struck a chord with us. So that's where we focused. As of late, we've started focusing internally as well. Now, having focused internally, there are some challenges which I, as an individual, had experienced during my career. But officers and members of staff came to me and we had some unsettling conversations which we brought to the attention of the hierarchy here. And Mr. Thompson was very, very quick in terms of trying to address some of those issues. Some forces aren't as quick. What we would like to do is offer our services to those forces where if you think you have got an issue involving Sikh identity, Sikh artifacts, Sikh faith, we would like to be your first port of call. Now, I think that'll do for me. You've got the picture. You know where we are. We're here. We're not just West Midlands anymore. We have grown, and we want to come to your respective forces, into your communities, and we want to share what we've done and help, hopefully, build those bridges with the people that you want to engage with as well. So, from me, thank you very much. On your tables, there'll be a little box from Bar of Fear. Bar of Fear is it's the best sweets going. So if you've got function in the future, please negotiate your own prices. They're not cheap; they're very expensive. Yes, we did get a discount. You can negotiate your own. Is there a raffle? Okay. Okay. Yes. Right. So if you get the opportunity, there will be raffle tickets available to get a great big box of Bar Fear. And before we do anything else, our Sunny here, she works in the background with Langar Aid. Langar Aid provides food for rough sleepers and members of the homeless community. She's got a cheque here, so if members of Langar Aid, a representative of Langar Aid wants to come forward, we would be honoured if you'd accept 3. Yeah, if you want to come down, please. For £1,200, thank you very much.
Vahaguji Kakalsa, Vahaguji Ki Fateh. I'm one of the white faces, by the way. And I understand what Lieutenant Colonel said, because I've been part of Langaray team for a good few years now. And we try to break down the barriers within the communities. And what we did in Coventry, in Broadgate, we set up a big multi-faith inclusion event, and I know Toby from the Ahmadiyya Muslims was there. And we invited all the different faith groups, and what we did, we set up a langar tent, and we just fed everybody, because the easiest way to get people talking is to give them some food, and they come together. And we had all the different faith groups there, we had the Muslims there, we had the Hindus there, and there was this, and it's a little story I tell, there was this black evangelical Christian on the peripherals. And I went over to him, we had some turban tie-in as well, didn't we, Toby? No. We both had the pink turbans on there. And I also took part of the Sikh Channel turban tie-in in Westminster, because it's about breaking the barriers down. So I went up to this guy and I said, we've got a spare table. You know, we've got all the different faith groups, come along. Just, sort of set out your stall and, put your faith message to anybody you want in Coventry. And he was a big tall chap, and he looked down at me with a big pink turban on. And he looked down and he said, "Are you Asian or are you white?" I looked up to him and I says, "I'm Welsh." I haven't reached the punchline yet. He then said, "Mixed race then." And it was a wonderful feeling at that particular time with the Langaray team to be out there in the community and realising that when someone uses a part of clothing as part of their faith, people automatically look at them and have preconceived ideas. And it's part of the Langaray and Calcirate team, and especially with Sunny. And I know Sunny's in the background, but she's there every other Sunday or nearly every Sunday helping us on the street. And we work very closely with the police in Coventry with the Steps of Change project, because what I personally like about the Sikh community is everybody's equal. Everybody's equal. And the work in which we do with the rough sleepers and the homeless, the isolated and the vulnerable, it's about being on the same level and seeing people as human beings. So it's absolutely humbling for us to be allowed to come to the National Sikh Association launch, Police Association launch. And we would just say, thank you for all the hard work that you do out there. And the more work we do as human beings and bring the community together, the better. Thank you.
Okay, we are working on English time, and for a room full of Punjabis, we are well ahead of ourselves. Okay. I'd just like to say a personal thanks to the officers and staff sat on table one particularly to the Lord Lieutenant for West Midlands, she's here, Zach Mader from the Police Federation. My final presentation will go to our Chief Constable. We talked about being different and making our services and our approach bespoke to the individual needs. I'm not saying that Mr. Thompson's got any needs, but we want to show our appreciation. You were there from the very start. You've been very, very supportive. in terms of allowing us time and energy to be expended on launching the National Sikh Police Association. And we would like to give you a small token of our appreciation. And I would like Tony Burnett to join us as we give this. Tony has been instrumental in helping us and guiding us as an association in the West Midlands. We did some research and we think you're going to like this. We hope you like it. This is what you're into. So this is...
He said it's small.
Thank you, sir.
Birmingham's jewellery quarter. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Cheers. Thank you. Folks, that brings the end of today's proceedings. It's just gone 12 o'clock. We told the caterer 12 o'clock, and hopefully the food should be ready in the room next door. Once again, from us, thank you very much.
ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਿੱਖ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਲਾਂਚ ਅੱਜ ਜੋ ਟੈਲੀਹੋ ਪਰਸ਼ਰ ਰੋਡ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਬ੍ਰਦਰਸ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਸਾਡੇ ਆਫੀਸਰ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਇਨਸਾਨੀਅਤ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਿੱਖ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਲਾਂਚ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਇਨਸਾਨੀਅਤ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਰੁੱਝੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਅਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਮਿਹਰ ਭਰਿਆ ਹੱਥ ਰੱਖੇ ਔਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਲਿਆ ਫਿਰ ਵਾਲ ਨਾ ਵਿੰਗਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਤੇ ਮਿਹਰ ਕਰੇਗਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਸੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਅੱਜ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਆਪਣਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਇਕੱਠ ਕੀਤਾ ਇਟਸ ਨਾਈਸ ਟੂ ਸੀ ਪੀਪਲ ਫਰਮ ਆਲ ਓਵਰ ਦ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਸਕਾਟਲੈਂਡ ਪਲਿਮਥ it's absolutely an amazing event and Maharaj Kirpa Karan may this association go from strength to strength and may they deliver some fantastic projects. They're looking at health, well-being, mental health, big issue. They're looking at recruitment and it's nice to see the support they've got from all the officers. So ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਦਾਸ ਕਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੋਸਨ ਵੈਸਟ ਮਿਡਲੈਂਡ ਸਟ੍ਰੈਟੇਜਿਕ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਐਂਡ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਬੋਰਡ ਦੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਿੱਖ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲਾਂਚ ਤੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈਗੇ ਵੋਲਵਰਹੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਸੀਲੀਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਸੋ ਸੀਲੀਆ welcome to the National Sikh Police Association launch and so why have you come along today?
Oh, of course, you know I'm a friend of the Sikh community. Sikh community was absolutely instrumental to me winning pen. Remember we did the Sikh for Labour event and you guys were literally pounding on those doors and speaking to them in, you know, language they could understand. One of the speakers was talking about cultural identity, just seeing that, you know, meant that they could trust you. You were like the go-between between myself and the Sikh. And for me, it wasn't just about politics. I actually respect and value the, you know, what faith brings in the community because the teachings of the Sikh community is actually fundamental to what Britain believes in, which is, you know, respect for each other, valuing everything everyone has to bring to the table and just simply courtesy, you know, be there, love each other, go to the community and just do amazing stuff. You don't need anybody to commission you. Go out there and do the righteous thing you have to do. And that says truth is high, but higher still is a truthful living and I think that's magnificent. Yeah.
So what message would you give to the community at the launch of the National Sikh Police Association?
I think there are so many messages, but the fundamental message that comes out from every single speaker today is just selflessness. And that's what I believe in. My mantra is actually selflessness. You need to just go out there and do things for people. Because once you do things for people, it always comes back to yourself. And if it's good you've done, then good comes back to you. So it's simple.
हाँ जी सो ये अज नैशनल सिख पुलिस एसोसीएशन ते आपां इत्थे लॉन्च ते आए हुए हैं ते इत्थे जिन्ने भी अपने सिख पुलिस ऑफिसर आ सारे मुल्क दे इत्थे इकट्ठे होए आ सारे वधाइयां दे पात्र आ जो इन्हां ने अज संस्था लॉन्च कीती आ ये अपनी कम्यूनिटी वास्ते बहुत वड्डी गल आ ते यूके जिहड़ी एस्टैबलिशमेंट आ ते पुलिस फोर्सिस आ उन्हां वास्ते भी बहुत वड्डी गल आ आपां अज बहुत सीनियर ऑफिसरां तो अज आपां सुनिया ते ये बहुत वधिया उपराला कीता ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ने वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह
ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਿੱਖ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਾਂਚ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਵੀਰਾਂ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਨੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਾਣ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਇੱਥੇ ਅੱਜ ਬੁਲਾ ਕੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਬਣੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਮਹਿਕਮਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਲੋਜ਼ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਮਹਿਕਮਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਮੀਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਣੀ ਹੈ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਵੱਧ ਚੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦੀ ਰਹੇਗੀ ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਮੈਂ ਹਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਰਾਏ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਰਵੀ ਰਾਏ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਕਮਿਟਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੁੱਟ ਅਪ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਸੋ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੰਮ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਰੇ ਚੜਾਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਸੋ ਆਓ ਇੱਥੇ ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It's Chas Singh here from Plymouth in my hometown, my pind, Birmingham. And it's so good to see so many people from not just the Sikh community but the wider community and to see the launch of the National Sikh Police Association here in the UK. One thing I will suggest is that out of all the 43 constabularies across the United Kingdom, the most important bit is to make sure that everybody has heard of the National Sikh Police Association and the work that they're going to carry out to do. But I wish them the best of luck, and I'm pretty sure that even though I live in Plymouth, where I'm represented by Devon and Cornwall Police, that I'll be looking to them as a resource so that if there are national and local issues, I'll make sure that they are at the top of the agenda for my constabulary to deal with. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Hello everyone, just want to say congratulations in the inauguration of the National Sikh Police Association. I'm Amrajit Singh, Inspector from Cambridgeshire. It's an honour to be here and an honour to be amongst friends and colleagues on this auspicious occasion. And I just want to wish the National Police Sikh Association and everyone all the best for the future. Thank you.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Simranjit Singh and I've been in the army around 12 years and a few years ago we were asked to organise a Sikh association in the British Army where the units can seek any advice. We work alongside the communities and the army to have any break any misconception community or the regiments do have. Any religious side of guidance we seek from our Sikh chaplain Mandip Kaur MBE, which is here today, and Mandip Kaur.
Thank you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So I'm delighted to be part of this event today, and I think there's a lot to share what we do as a network as well within the military. So I started this role of Sikh chaplain 14 years ago, and also got commissioned recently in December as Royal Air Force military chaplain as well. So my role is to support all the Sikhs within the armed forces in British Army, Royal Navy and Royal Air Force for the moral, pastoral and spiritual care, and also look after their dependents as well as the need arises. So I'm quite looking forward to work alongside with these people who are serving the country and keeping our waters, air and land safe. Thank you, and I'll pass it to Chairman now.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It's been a really good event today for a police association. They're going national today, so it's a really big good thing. And we are here doing engagement behalf of BAFSA. Me and he's a deputy chairman, Samanjit. Me and him we are alongside coming with them. So, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Just to elaborate on this, being a vice chairman of British Armed Forces Sikh Association, we would congratulate the National Sikh Association of Police, and we look forward to work together with them. 2 years ago, we were asked to organise a Sikh association in the British Army, where the units can seek any advice. We work alongside the communities and the army to have any break any misconception community or the regiments do have. Any religious side of guidance we seek from our Sikh chaplain Mandip Kaur MBE, which is here today, and Mandip Kaur.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm delighted to be part of this event today, and I think there's a lot to share what we do as a network as well within the military. So I started this role of Sikh chaplain 14 years ago, and also got commissioned recently in December as Royal Air Force military chaplain as well. So my role is to support all the Sikhs within the armed forces in British Army, Royal Navy and Royal Air Force for the moral, pastoral and spiritual care, and also look after their dependents as well as the need arises. So I'm quite looking forward to work alongside with these people who are serving the country and keeping our waters, air and land safe. Thank you, and I'll pass it to Chairman now.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It's been a really good event today for a police association. They're going national today, so it's a really big good thing. And we are here doing engagement behalf of BAFSA.
Being a vice chairman of British Armed Forces Sikh Association, we would congratulate the National Sikh Association of Police, and we look forward to work together with them. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Yeah, I feel absolutely honoured, blessed to be here today on this very historic occasion. The establishment of this National Sikh Police Association is a landmark, is a milestone for the Sikh community in this country, because they have demonstrated that we can compete at the very highest level. And what was really humbling today was the speech from Kartar Singh, who talked about the values of Sikhi, the values of upholding the truth, of fighting for justice and against justice. And these, of course, are the same values that the police should be upholding. And I'm sure that the Sikhs in the police force will make the police force even a better force, because this is our history and this is what the Gurus told us. So ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ ਹੋਣ National Sikh Police Association UK. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.
I want to say, but cheese is normally good.
From behind the camera.